we'll continue with these floor pans. I think it's worth getting on with these. So, remember I was saying I've got to modify this little corner area, and what that's really for is for these jacking points to fit in there. So they go on the chassis like that. So it's clearance for that jacking point. So I've taken these off and cleaned them up, straightened them out, and weld one of them up a bit. I could make new, but I don't see the point. Like I say, we save as much of the good stuff as we can. So that they're ready to go. That little tang's actually factory. They just put a little piece in there to bias it down off the chassis, so it sits nicely. So I've left that on there, which I'll reuse. But you can see where I've cut into it. But anyway, I'll reuse that. That will stay there. So that's them. So I put a saw cut through there, and now we've got to go through here. So we're going down there and down there. So we'll just get that done, and then we can make a little piece up and let it in there. So I've just clamped that onto the bench, and we'll just go through here. There we go. Right, well that's out. So now we've got a fabricate piece for there. Now, I could have been clever and then folded some of this original over. You reused a bit of this and sort of bent that over there. And then just put a piece in here, but it's not worth messing around with. I'm better off just fabricating a piece up and letting it in. In situ, I just put a couple of MIG blobs on here just to hold it in place, and then ran a MIG weld down the outside of it. We'll see how we get on in a minute. I might use the gas actually on this when we actually let the piece in. But that's it, so we've got a little piece into there now, but this is a piece of the same metal I used for that. So it'd be appropriate to use it for this job, won't it? So we'll just want to take a piece off here, something like that. If we just mark that off, like that, better to keep it square, won't it? So we'll probably go off of this end actually. Let's do that. Right, I'll just take that off in the guillotine. I just put that there, and that's what we're trying to end up with there, isn't it? And then back mark it across here, straight across there. Then if I put my fold in there, it should give us what we want. I can see what's happened here. It's gone uphill a bit. For some reason I've ended up going uphill here. I think it's because I've come off of that edge. Or is it, I don't know why that's happened. Why's that happened? It doesn't seem to be right, does it? We need to correct that. I don't know what's happening, if I've wandered off with the saw or marked it incorrectly. I've gone off the bottom here where it's not got a really sharp curve on it. So I've lost that. So let's try and get that back to true, because I don't want that like that. That's wrong, isn't it? Yeah, I think what's happened is I've gone off of here. I've gone off that depth from there to there. So what I've done is I've done that. I've used this to mark that like that, and I've gone off to there like that, and then it's gone off with a saw at the last bit. Ooh, don't like that. I don't like that at all. Right. Let's put that right before we do anything else. A bit annoying, but easily remedied. I don't know if that was just the saw wandered off or if I marked it out. I reckon the saw wandered off. That's probably what happened there. Right, so we got to saw that out. So our weld's going to have to fill that up. When we do this, we're going to have to fill that one up. Okay, what I'll do is I'll back mark across here. Let's get that marked up like that. So if I take that off, it'll all come right in a minute. So we're going to come back to there. That's going to be there, isn't it? HLB like that. And then the other end of that takes us to that corner there. So that'll go straight across to there. So we're going to go straight across that corner there. And that should give us that bit. I mean, the other thing to do is cut that out and come up to here so we have an edge there. So we don't try and join on there. Which I'd have to make a different plate up for that because I want to come out like that, don't I? because we're going to have a weld along here. I think it'll be all right. We'll try that. Yeah, get a nice weld along there. And then let's just have a look what that's going to look like in there. So yeah, we can have a weld along there, in there. Well, I'll clean that up, clean some of the Zintex off it, and then we'll have a go at welding it and see what we got. Just get the air file, because we'll work into that corner a bit. So I can't get into quite in the corner with this, with that big grinder. Now, why we're taking the zinc coating off is because it's very, it can be noxious when it warms up when you weld with it. So it's best to clean it off first. Also, you can get a better weld without it there. So we cleaned it up. And we want to let that in, don't we? We need to clean our plate up first, so let's get that cleaned off first. And then we won't be choking on it. Yeah, so I want this edge to be flush with that one, which means I want to sort of sit that almost inside there, you see, like that? And that means then I've got to take a bit of this out. So I want to take a bit of that edge out to allow it to sit down. And we still want to fill that, don't we? We want to try and fill that hole whilst we're about it. But this should work. So you can see the line there, you see the scribe line? So I want to just come just inside that, because we want to allow for a metal thickness, don't we, to allow that to sit down. So if I come to there, it should. Yeah, you see, so that's going to sit flush now. So I'll get some clamps on here, and we try and get a couple of welds on there, and then we'll get it let in there, I think. So let's try and get something to clamp that in there to hold it flush. Should be deep enough. Right, so we're trying to level that up a bit, weren't we, at the same time? So we're going to want that to come back up that way a bit. Then we're going to have to put a bit of rod in there. And we want to tap that edge down in there a little bit carefully. We'll be able to get this done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the MIG welder just to get a little spot in there to hold it. So I can get one in the end here. And then we want to get one up the end here. And then I should be able to move my clamps away. And that's held it quite nicely there. So, I think I'm just going to run a seam straight along there with the MIG. Right, I'm using short little bursts of the MIG there because it's quite thin, and I'm just trying to fill the hole up really. Doesn't need to be lots of strength in it as such. I think we might want to grind that down. If I put a tack in there now in the corner, clamp that down onto here. I can do that, but I can hold that actually. Let's get a tack weld in the corner there. That should hold it. Now we'll have a look at what we're going to do and how we're going to do from there. I think we can tack weld this edge on, there, and run a seam along there. And then we can decide what we're going to do, whether we're going to get the gas out and do it a bit neater. Right, we're on. So we've got to get these edges flush before we weld them. So I'm just going to take the grinder straight over them just to get rid of them. That's a quick way of doing it. Not that finessey, but it'll do. You don't need to sort of overdo this job. It's just a quick sort out, isn't it? Now we're going to get up it this way, and then we'll do that top edge. So I'm going to run along here quickly, just to get a weld on there. Right. Now it's filling up this weld, isn't it? It's doing this one, filling that up at the same time. Let's just do it with the MIG, because I mean, it's a lot of mucking around. I've got to pull gas bottles around here to do it with the gas. see what we can achieve this way. We should be able to fill it as we go, but let's just see. Well, that's done it. Now, the thing with MIG welding, it can look a bit ugly, but if we grind that out, that'll look all right. So you can see here where it's come through and penetrated through there. Well, it's more than penetrated, that's actually the weld's gone through the hole, hasn't it? But that'll look all right, that'll look quite neat. I'm not too worried about that. We can clean this up a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll take the outside edge off. There's all this stuff, which looks a bit ugly. But of course you won't see that because that'll be sat down inside the chassis. And of course all this will be under the carpet anyway, but I'd like to get this a bit cleaner in here. But we'll do that, I'll clean it up. I'm going to put a new disc on there because this is a bit tired, this one. And I want it to be sharp to take these edges off and not be pushing down too hard and getting it too hot. And also I'll then risk sort of going through the edge because obviously we're in a corner, so it's going to be very easy to go through the corner, which is what we don't want. Take a little bit more off this. Just take a bit more off that. I use the little the file. Right, it's looking quite neat. Let's just have a look at the inside. So I want to take a bit of this off here, just a bit of the lumpy stuff off there. I'll just put a conditioning wheel over that, just to see, so it gets rid of some of the bluing. Then I think that will look quite smart. Right, that'll do. It might get a bit more of a clean up, but that's pretty much it. Obviously once that's got some paint on it, it will look a lot better. But yeah, that's the idea. And then that will allow that jacking point to sit sort of here where it's supposed to. So that was the idea. Now we've got to be careful that we haven't gone thin anywhere here, and you know, because we don't want this rusting out too early on its life. So I'll have to have a finer look at that, and then if we've got any pinholes, I'll clean them up. But I can't see any. That looks pretty good to me. Let's put a light behind it, and then we'll see what we got. Can't see any light shining out of that anywhere. So I reckon we're all right. So I've got to do similar things with these edges. These have all got to be welded up, but I've probably got to put some fillets in here because this sort of bows out, which is the nature of how this fits into there. Because remember, we're replicating this one, aren't we? This fiberglass one, and how it fits. So that's what we're doing, isn't it? We've just done that bit in there. So we've just done a piece like that. So I think ours will look quite neat enough, won't it? Now I think it'll have some sort of texture finish on this. I suspect that'd be the best way to do it. And we will be using some form of sound deadening. Now whether we'll have pads stuck to it or quite what we'll do, I don't know yet. We'll work that one out. But you can see they have quite a thick carpet on here because these are the little razors that so this would have like a horsehair style sound deadening on it, and then this would be where the carpet clips onto here, so you're already going to raise it that much with stuff. So that's a different thing, but we'll work that out. You know, I'm wondering whether this should all be finished with that rubberized coating that I use underneath. I think that might work quite nicely in there and form a form of sound deadening, but which of course will hide a lot of this. So I think this will look fine. I think it'd be great. That's enough of that. I think I should go home. So that'll do. Good night.